The first show we came to see when we were doing our research was Mario Cresci, and we saw the sculptures of Gianfranco Leonetti.
The Leonetti sculptures, I think they really, when we were saying like we spoke to rocks, like there's a living tradition in that, like these are such a good example of that, because the way in which he works as a sculptor is to imagine what it would be to encounter those materials in prehistory with the techniques that artists had then. So the other example of something from previous shows is the films of Luigi Di Gianni, which are obviously very famous and important in the region and have featured in previous shows. Their impact on people's imagination of Basilicata is so powerful that they kind of overshadow everything. And so we thought it was really important to include them, but also just to include them kind of almost at a little bit of a distance, so that something new could take place kind of in front of them.
And something living as well, because a lot of these films were made in the early 20th century, and they speak of a Basilicata which is very specific to that time. So we decided to concentrate instead a little bit more on living archives.
But also, you know, one of the big themes of this came to be kind of communication with non-humans.
So there's been lots of different types of non-human conversation, and to try and look at the idea of archive as being beyond the human, types of knowledge that are passed on between human and animal as well, or human and plant, or human and rock, and to kind of have a much wider notion of what this sense of kind of living archive is. We were invited to take part in this exhibition by Joseph Grima, who's somebody we've both worked with before. It was a wonderful invitation for us, specifically because it's an important year for Matera in terms of the city of culture, but also because we, even though we're British, live in Greece, in Athens. And we've been there for 4 years, and we are more and more connected to notions of the Mediterranean, to shared cultures, to seeing things that are moving around the Mediterranean from the perspective of Greece, and these kind of a sort of Southern European interconnectedness and network. So I think for us this was really part of that understanding, and like kind of learning shared knowledges and finding so many resonances in what we saw in Matera and Basilicata to what we encounter in Greece, actually.
Yeah, I mean it's a really strong belief. Places like Matera, like southern Italy in general, like Greece where we live, like the Mediterranean region, are capable of generating their own futures. They don't rely on an idea of the future that's passed down to us from mainland of Europe, the centre, the north, wherever these other places are, but they're actually places of kind of incredible possibility. Entirely new ideas of the future can be generated, can be created. I think we've been very lucky to encounter both of those.